Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on WakeUpCallDT.com, your one-stop sports shop, mixlr.com /WakeUpCallDT, as well as on YouTube.com /WakeUpCallDT, Facebook.com /WakeUpCallDT, and being shared on Facebook.com /LiveNowDT. We're inside of the Cafe Cubal Studios, and joining me picture in picture here is Tom Bolino. Tom Bolino, the head coach of Union-Endicott's Tigers football team. The UE Tigers have won their sectional championship, and we spoke at the beginning of the season, and now here we are at the end of the sectional season as the team continues to move on. And incredible to be able to sit down next to this, I'm going to call him this young man. So to sit down next to this young man here at Progressive Dental just a couple months ago and down in the southern tier, to be able to do that and end well New York, and now to be here talking about a champion. Tom, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty good, and I appreciate you calling me a young man. I just turned 49 October 22nd, so that's pretty good. And matter of fact, that date was the first time that we encountered Horseheads, was on my birthday, and our first meeting did not go the way we wanted it to, and we ended up losing that game in the regular season, and then we ended up seeing them in the championship game. So that outcome was a little bit different.
Yeah, and first and foremost, happy belated. I'm October 21st, and you're October 2nd. So,
well, good things happen around that time of year, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I guess so. So, you, like you said, I want to go right back to that. The first time you met Horseheads didn't go the way you wanted it to go. What did you learn from that game? What were your kind of takeaways on film that you could utilize to your advantage in the championship game?
Well, first off, Horseheads is a very good team. They're big, they're fast, they're strong, they're well coached. I don't think that's we didn't underestimate them. We knew they were going to be tough, but we just didn't really play up to our standards. So we had to go right back to the basics. So we didn't really change anything X's and O's wise. It was just more of we need to become better tacklers, we need to become better blockers. So we went right back to the basics and started from there and just built from there. So it's really when we play our games, our approach is always, it's never about them. It's always about us. So, and let's control the things that we can control. So we just need to get better. And, it doesn't matter if we play a team in section 4 or section 3 or section 9. It's never about them. It's just about us being the best versions of ourselves.
You said it's never about them. It's always about us. How do you focus on controlling the controllables in a world where, a lot of times people get frustrated because they want to control the other team. They want to control this person or that thing or whatever that may be. How do you get your team, especially young men, to say, hey, you know what, guys? Yeah, maybe they do this well. Maybe they do that great. Maybe they do that pretty good. But we can only control ourselves. How do you get them to focus on controlling the controllables?
Well, that's a hard characteristic for anyone to have a teenage boy or a young man or young woman, right? To kind of like live within themselves and just kind of, not just be reactive, but you also need to be proactive as well. But that's something that you need to really kind of practice at, right? You're not going to get good at anything in life unless you practice at this. So we always talk about staying focused, playing for each other, looking at how we can improve. It's easy to sit back and live your life and, blame it on the referees or blame it on the wrong hand that you were dealt, right? It's not fair. Life is not fair in multiple aspects of the world, right? So football, I love football because it's such a life lesson. So this is a great life lesson of we might have bad referees or those guys might be better than us, right? But let's give our best efforts, right? Best effort for ourselves, for one another, and really just go from there. And it's the old cliche. Sometimes you have to make you get served lemons, you make lemonade, and that's really what it is. Sometimes it's not going to be perfect, and then that's okay because none of us are perfect.
Yeah. And seeing this team this season, when we sat down at the beginning of the year, what did you see in them? Have they pleasantly surprised you this season from when we sat down at Progressive Dental? Or did you see that this team could get to this point? I mean, where were you at the beginning of the year? Is this a surprising, wow, these guys really rose to the occasion? Or is this something you could kind of see building?
Well, expectations are always high, so we set the standard of just not winning football games, but like I said, getting better every day. And looking looking at this team before we started, I saw that there could be a lot of potential for this team. Not because they're athletic, and they're very athletic, and that always helps, of course. But I did really like the character of this team. Like I said, they really play for one another. They really love each other. They love spending time together. They work hard for one another. So that kind of like chemistry, when you throw some athleticism in there with that, you can get things that could be very special. So it usually has to start off with there. You have to have that team trust. I think like any type of relationship, you need to have that trust. So, we trust them to do the right things, and they have been doing that, and they trust us to lead them, us coaches, and with that trust, now they trust each other, and great things can happen like that. So, going into the season, looking at just a football point of view, I think that was really kind of the foundation. And then, their athleticism was good. We're not a very big team. We're actually a small team. I'm very proud of our offensive line and how well they've been playing, because they're about as big as me, and and I'm not very big. So they're like 100. They probably average like 175, 180 pounds. So we're always outsized, but they work hard. They engage on their blocks. They keep on moving their feet, and then our skill guys just make plays behind them.
Yeah, and for you, like you said, you don't have to be the biggest team and this and that, but it's something that goes beyond how big you are. It's something that goes beyond. I mean, height is something that God gives, and you can't teach height, you can't give anybody height, but the things that they can control, going in the weight room, looking at film, making sure that they got their body right, clearing their mind, mental toughness, those types of things that they can control themselves. How has this team impressed you on those controllables, to go a little bit deeper into what we're talking about?
Oh, they do. They put in extra work. I could give you one example. Last week, we won our semifinal game for Section 4, and one of our players, he ended up having 2 touchdowns. So I take that back. He had 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. And seems like a pretty good game to me, right? But he dropped the ball and missed a couple blocks, and the lights went off. And the lights went off in the stadium. We all went home, and one of my other coaches called me up and said, I drove by the stadium and I saw a car in the parking lot, and our player was still out there on the field practicing his routes. So that's just a quick snapshot of the character of this team. They work when no one's looking. So and it's impressive that young men, can do that, and they're that mature, and they're trying to master their craft. And isn't that what we're all trying to do at some point? Find what you're good at and try to master your craft.
Yeah, and for you, Tom, like you said, find what you're good at and master your craft. How did you know that this was going to be a place where you felt like you could really live, be a football coach and really grow and be successful here? How did you fall in love with it, and how do you master your craft?
I guess it goes to just following your passions. I've always loved football ever since I can remember. So I loved playing. I loved going outside in the backyard and getting dirty and tackling on the grass, and I just kind of liked just the nature of the sport. So I was always a high energy kid. My dad played football for UE, so of course I'm gonna go play football for UE too. Now to find myself back here, coaching and teaching at UE, like I've told you in interviews before, that was just a blessing from God that everything fell in alignment. So that's not me, that's him. That's something that I was fortunate to be placed at. So I'm pretty blessed on being at UE, and I just love it. And how I master my craft is I just try my best. I surround myself by people that are good, that we can work well together. And I just keep on plugging away, and I make mistakes and I learn from them. And I think also being an art teacher kind of helps in the sense that artists, we always reflect, right? When you do a piece of artwork, you always sit back and reflect on it. And you don't take it personal when people look at your artwork and criticize it or say, well, this doesn't look good, or that's kind of ugly, or whatever. You sit back, and because it's not you, it's something that you created, and then you go back and you kind of tweak it. And I think being able to reflect on your life and reflect on what you're doing kind of comes easy for me, because because I do that all the time with my own artwork. So I think that kind of helps me grow as a better person, as a better coach, as a better father, husband, son, brother.
I think it's amazing, and it's so well put, and I appreciate that. Speaking on faith and speaking on reflection, as you know, when we look at artwork with Tom Bolino here, the head coach of the Union-Endicott Tigers football team that has just won their Section 4 championship and is moving on here in the state of New York. And we'll talk about that in a moment, what you're moving on to. But Tom, you talked about art, and when you create something, you said a bunch of incredible things there. One of the things you said was that when you create something and somebody critiques it, that you detach it from yourself, that you don't take it personally. They're critiquing the artwork. They're not critiquing you. They're critiquing the art. When you're taking a paintbrush to the team this season for 2021, when you had to tweak it, what were some of those things that you had to tweak when you were painting this year when it comes to this team?
Well, I probably, like I said, talking about self-reflection, looking back, I think the hardest thing that I find as a coach is putting players in the positions where they could be the most successful, right? So you have guys that are bring different elements to the team, right? And they have different talents, and some of them overlap. And how is this going to fit the team the best? Is he going to be our slot receiver? Is he going to be our running back? Is he going to do a little bit of both? Trying to get them in the right spots where they could take their talents and have them fit in the team. And sometimes they don't want to play in that position. So now you have to talk to them. And you have to build that trust and that communication for them to decide to play in a position that they didn't really want to play in, right? So once you kind of figure that out and you move all those puzzle pieces around and you figure out where they're going to be the most successful and where the team needs them the most, then hopefully they're going to buy into that as well. So we have some guys playing out of position, and that's what you get in high school football because you're not recruiting. they're high school kids, right? So and sometimes they get it, and most of the time the kids get it, and sometimes they don't, and sometimes their parents don't either, and they get upset because, well, my kid's playing, he's playing on the offensive line, and he's not going to be an offensive lineman in college. And I was like, well, I understand that, but colleges are looking just for players, right? Players that have that character, that's give 100% when the plays run away from them, right? So that's what they look for. They look for the players and the athletes. So we just want to get them on the field that's where they're going to be successful, but where they also help the team. And that's kind of the biggest tweaks that we have to make. The X's and O's, we move them around a little bit, right? But we have I put together a system where it's very flexible. So then I did that by designing the offense and the defense and the special teams. It's very flexible because you'll know what you're going to get from year to year. So and that's really fun, because you're building yourself like your own kind of system or your own language, and that's pretty neat. And then you kind of communicate that and you share that with your coaches, and it's neat to hear them talk using the vocabulary and the language that you put together, and that's really enjoyable. And I did not expect that to be as much fun as it is.
They talk about coaches trying to fit a square peg into a round hole. There's coaches that build to their talent, and there's coaches that try and force a system, whether or not the talent works. Your flexible system, how do you describe that, and how does it work that when you have different talent coming in, how are you able to adjust it?
Yeah, I mean, I actually start off with a systems playbook when it's almost baby. I guess we call it. It's like our Bible. This is what we use. This is the terminology we use. This is the techniques we use in each position. These are our alignments, and I kind of just build it where we start off. We'll talk defensively because I'm more of a defensive guy. So our base defense is like a 4-3 defense, right? But we can adjust that just by adding different types of tags onto our calls to drop them into a 5-2 or a 5-3. We can go to 6-1, a 6-2. So we can do really anything we want. And as soon as we find out what this team is really built for, then we kind of focus in on that. And then we kind of run that basically set defense. And then sometimes we have to adjust it depending on the type of offense we're going against. But that's really easy because everyone's already introduced to that vocabulary. So, and we've been throughout the summer, we've been going in and out of different types of defenses and coverages, and bliss packages throughout the year. And then we just focus on one or two that we like. And then sometimes we have to revisit when we go against a team that's giving us something a little bit different. So that's what I mean by the flexibility. So it's really, it can morph into anything we really need at that point.
You talk about the talent on the team. Two guys I got to talk with you going into the season when we were at Progressive Dental in Endwell, New York, is that I had the pleasure and Sonny Spear had the pleasure of sitting down with Nick Faber and Rocco Spinelli. What can you say about Nick and Rocco and what they've been this year?
Oh, there are two captains on the team, and they've been fantastic. So they've been really taking on a leadership role, the right way. So they lead by example, and they're vocal when they need to. Rocco Spinelli is just, he's a two-way starter for us and on the special teams, and he's just one of those hard-nosed kids. And you want to just say he's like a throwback kind of guy. He's gritty, he's tough, but he's really focused and sincere and passionate, and he plays. He earns all the team's respect because he plays so hard and he plays for them. And then Nick Faber, he's the same. He's been battling an ankle injury for the past couple weeks, and he's kind of going full tilt right now. And he's our defensive guy, and really things like center around him defensively, and he gets guys in the right spot, and they're doing a great job, as leaders. We have other guys on the team that are leading as well. So I usually do a coin toss captain every week.
Yeah.
Sometimes they're going to be seniors. Sometimes they might be juniors. Those are guys that have been doing those little things during practice, and how they are being good teammates, so they get up in the captain's line with them. And we also put we look through film of the past game, and we have a hitman of the week. So like the biggest or best hit or the best block or multiple great tackles in the game, somebody can earn the hitman of the week, so they can end up being on the captain's role. And I like that. As soon as you're always going to have 2 or 3 or 4 good leaders on your team. And once you start getting 7, 10, 14 guys that are really taking on that leadership role, then you're really starting to grow something really special. You're getting those guys that are just average or above average, really taking ownership. And then you could really make a difference.
Yeah, and your team has made such a difference this year to see what they've done and what they've become. That second game against Horseheads here for the Section 4 championship, 34-0. And we speak on Rocco Spinelli. He had a sack that forced a fumble that you were able to recover. How did everything just click? We talk about offense, defense, special teams. You need them all to work together. What happened in that game to be able to not only win that game, but to put up a goose egg for your opponent, 34-0? What did you see that was done so well? And then as a coach, I know you got to go back and look at film and find this. What are some areas that you still think could have been better in that game?
Well, I'm surprised that the score was what the score was. I mean, we went into halftime 7-0, and we were good with, all right, 7-0, and was just, let's keep them out of the end zone and win this game, right? And then we said, stay focused, right? We have 2 more quarters. Let's take one play at a time. Like I said, those old cliches always hold true, right? Just one play at a time. Give me 6 seconds, right? And then give me another 6. Play is going to be about 6 seconds long, right? Give me 6 seconds, right? And then let's do it again. Yeah, and we did that. We kind of we kept our focus. We kept the enthusiasm, and things just started, piling upon itself. I like to say, good things happen to good people, and we were playing really good. We were playing for each other, and everything was falling into place. So we're very fortunate on that day. I mean, if we played them twice and we went 1-1. So if we played them 10 times, I don't know, it could be 5-5. I have no idea. You know what I mean? But for that night, this past Friday, it was Tiger football, and we were really flying around, and it was great to see. It was almost like, going back to talking about art, it almost looked like a masterpiece. It was really nice. And I was very proud of the guys and the coaching staff.
What are the things that you would want to work on from that game? What did you see from that game that maybe you could do better?
Well, it's, there's always room for improvement, right? You always have to grow and get better. I think some of it is just some, little execution here and there, missing some blocks, using a little bit better technique when we, when we're attacking them on defense, or when we're playing offense, using, blocking a little bit better, maybe being able to look down the field a little bit more to throw the ball, maybe take advantage of some opportunities. But I think defensively we're very opportunistic, and I don't really think we were misaligned that much. Sometimes we have problems defensively and we're misaligned, but I think that was one thing that we took care of. So hopefully we're going to continue that. But, you're talking about high school kids. They can be flaky once in a while. So that's why we always want to get better. Just fix one thing. So we fix one thing at a time. And then at the end of the season, you have 100 mistakes you fixed. And that's where you want to be when you're starting playing these championship games.
Tom Bolino here with us. Before I let you go, Tom, Union-Endicott Tigers football head coach here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Coupal Studios. For this upcoming game, keep, like you said, sometimes kids can be flaky, whatever, they're young kids. How do you keep them focused? They've already won a Section 4 championship, but there's more life to be had here as we continue in states. You're playing Section 3, a team that I know very well, the CBA brothers and Casey Brown, and that game is going to be this coming Friday, November 19th at 8 p.m. in Vestal, New York. So they're coming to your neck of the woods. What can you tell me about keeping the team focused? And then let's jump into the game and having a Section 3 champion that just won 61-26 against Indian River. And here's some irony. When you played Horseheads first, you lost. Then you came back and you had a substantial victory. When they played Indian River during the season, they lost. And then when they came back, they had a substantial victory. So it's two teams coming off of championship wins over teams that they lost to earlier on in the season. What are your thoughts on what's coming up this Friday in Vestal, and how do you keep the team focused?
Well, keeping them focused, we're just happy that we have the opportunity to continue practicing. So I let them know that I was like, not every team's practicing. In Section 4, there's only 5 teams that are practicing right now. So don't make and we just go day by day. Hey, this could be your last practice, last Monday practice. Make it great. Work on that one thing. This could be your last Tuesday practice. Make it great. And et cetera. So we see the sense of urgency, but we also see the opportunity to do something that's not too many UE teams have done. I think if we win this game, they'll be the 6th UE team actually to win a regional title. So I think they won it in 89 and 90. So I happened to play on those two teams, and then 95, and then 2012 I coached, and then 2013 I was the head coach. So it only was going down 5 times. So, and I let them know that. You're going to put a mark. You're going to leave your mark in UE football. So take that serious. Don't, play within yourself, right? Play within yourself. Don't let the experience get bigger than you, right? But know that you have a great opportunity in front of you. And like I said, these guys, the big key is these guys, they love to play football for each other. So I think they're going to play for one another, and they'll stay dialed in.
2013, you became the head coach. It was 8 years ago. What have these 8 years looked like for you?
They're always up and down. So so some seasons we have winning records, and we win Section 4 championships like this year. And a few years I had in there where we had losing records, and we still played well in the big game and won Section 4 championships. So we've been in the stage multiple times in my tenure. So we know what to expect, right? We know what to expect. But then there's always the unknowns, right? You don't know what you don't know. So we're going to find out. I know that CBA is pretty explosive. So we're going to, it's going to be their skill guys versus our skill guys. And we're going to see how that's going to turn out.
Chandler Jones, Arthur Jones, Union-Endicott, they have gone on to be extremely successful Super Bowl champions. What does that mean to you? And do you ever bring that back? Do you ever sit with your team in the locker room and say, hey, listen, you can reach greatness. And if you feel like you can't reach it in your life or in this community or on this team, like if you think, because I think sometimes kids will look out, and people of all ages will look out and say, wow, that person's successful. And they'll see them after they've gotten to that point, after they've gotten to the top of the mountain, but they don't see them climb. Do you ever look at the kids and say, hey, listen, there's 2 guys that climbed this mountain and are pretty high up right now, and they came from Union-Endicott?
Yeah, I do once in a while. I try not to always get back to, back in the day or this or that, because, kids are focused on their now, right? And I get that, and I appreciate that too. But sometimes you need to draw from the past. And I do bring that up on occasion. Probably the one time I do it the most is when I'm working with the DNs, and we're talking about some type of technique where they're kind of ripping across the face of a tackle or offensive, a tight end or something like that. And I was like, well, make sure, you're staying square to the line. You don't want to get washed down. And we talk about that. And I was like, listen, Chandler Jones had a hard time with this. And he's great. He's really good. And he used to get washed down. If you do it this way, you're going to lose the battle every time, So to let them know, it's like even the great ones have to use good technique, right? And it just doesn't come. It just doesn't happen. They need to use good technique. So I'll draw to that on occasion when they need to, and that's how I kind of use it. When it calls for it.
You spoke about controlling the controllables. To bring it all back here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside of the Cafe Football Studios with Union-Endicott Tigers head football coach, Mr. Tom Bolino. Tom, how do you, like you said, CBA's talented. They could be explosive. They got, it's our skill guys versus their skill guys. How do you control the controllables and say, okay, this is what we're preparing for on film. We can't control them. We can adjust. We can respond. We can attack. But how do you stay focused knowing that you have, obviously a very talented team coming into Vestal?
Well, that's the one thing that, that's why we break down film, right? And that's why we have to do our studies, is we have to put together a game plan where we're looking at, matchups where these guys might be even, right? So their skill levels might be are comparable and they're going to be even. So how can we put our guy in a better situation so he can get a little bit of advantage, so he can be able to make a play. So now you're getting down to like some of the idiosyncrasies of what they do, kind of, where their weakness is, how can we exploit that, and then how can we get some of our skill guys, put them in situations where they're going to have a little bit of advantage because they're going to need it, because the guys that they're going against are very talented. So we're at that point of the weekend right now, working on that.
Your visor game is here with us today, and I'm going to say this in closing. Are you typically a visor guy? I mean, I say, when I see that, I'm thinking Lane Kiffin. I'm thinking a lot of Scott Schaefer, because I know that he wore it so much. But are you typically visor? Are you just visor today for this conversation? What's the breakdown between regular hat and visor?
I'm a visor guy, so I'll throw a hat on once in a while. If I have a bad hair day, I'll throw on the hat. But most of the time, I'm a visor guy until I start losing my hair, and then maybe I might go do a hat. But right now, I like to show off my curls, so I go with the visor. So I have my practice day visor. So I have a white visor, a black visor, and an orange visor for practice, and then I have my game day visor, which is black on black.
I love it. So that coming from Tom Bolino here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Tom, I'm going to give you the floor. Any final note, anything you want to say to the community, to Union-Endicott's, hopeful and to their support, anything you want to say here in closing?
Well, we always talk about playing for each other, but we also represent the community, and we play for the community as well. So UE, the school district, the community, they really love their football and they love their athletics. They really support us. We have a Sea of Orange that comes to the game. That's our student body. They're fantastic. They have their Twitter handles out there, and they do all their stuff. So we just love the enthusiasm that they have, and we're glad that we're giving them an opportunity to be excited about something that's special, and we're all in it together.
And coming from Tom Bolino, Union-Endicott Tigers head football coach. Tom, it's so awesome that I got to meet you and sit down with you. Like I said just a couple months ago at Progressive Dental, sitting right next to me, and Sonny and I are just talking about your hopes for the season, your thoughts, your history, your coaching technique, and here we are. Isn't it funny how a couple months can really put together something beautiful? So I got to tell you, I mean, it's incredible, and I'm so proud of all that you guys have done, and I look forward to what you can do from here. But let me say that it was an honor to meet you then, and it's kind of gives you chills right now to see where you guys are at. So congratulations, and hopefully things keep going well.
I appreciate that. Seems like I've only known you for a few months now, but I mean, we could probably be like old school, like neighborhood friends or something like that. So, I mean, it's nice. Maybe it might be the Italian background or something, but you fit really good in Endicott.
Well, thank you. And I appreciate that so very much. So God bless to you. Thank you for all the hard work that you're doing. And I will definitely be in touch, Tom. Thank you for your time today, and I appreciate you.
Thank you.